Hey, this is Asbulk, the Gaming Orc, and yo-ho, this is a pirate game where I'm in the temple with no deaths. I'm going to talk about a lot of different subjects in this video, but you can also watch me PvP here. This is a pretty cool game. It was kind of a close game. I'm fighting a lot of warlocks, a lot of casters, and I'm going to kind of talk to you about PvP. We also got some footage, some good footage that'll be coming out later this week with some arenas. Let me talk to you about just some stuff I've been trying to change around with my Warlock spec and just playing around with it a little bit more. Everybody knows Grimoire of Service is probably like the go-to spec because there's just a lot more diversity with that spec. Like you can cast the Imp, you have silences with the Observer / Fell Hunter. You can drop your Infernal, so you still have the Infernal out, which comes out every 3 minutes, I believe. But the problem is right now is Blizzard was supposed to debug the Observer to get Devour magic for like arenas. When you purge, like I said in the previous video, you're purging pretty much strong buffs all the time off someone, and it's just really good. And I think it also heals your Fell Hunter. Does anybody know a way to reverse the glyphs? If so, I've tried to reverse the glyphs. I can't. I'm trying to pillar this guy right here a little bit. And this other warlock actually shows up as a healer. My healers must die. I get 4 unstable, so I pop Unending Resolve here to kind of reduce some of the damage. And I'm just trying to like kill this pet a little bit to actually get health. And you can see I'm pillaring him because I think they have 2 orbs. We have 1 orb right now. But I'm just trying to pillar this guy a little bit because I know how strong Affliction is. But if he can't get his drain off, his damage is dropping down. But you can see I'm dropping low here. But I'm just getting my health back up by killing his pet. And when you kill a warlock's pet, they're soul drained. So I even death coil his pet because it gives me HP back, and death coil is on such a short cooldown. And that's one thing you want to do is like if you have cooldowns, like in my opinion, like this game revolves around, you have so many abilities with so many cooldowns. It's better just to blow the cooldown if it takes like a second to do it. Like if it's a global, just do it. That way you can put it on cooldown without waiting for it, because you can see here I've actually even broken combat, but I'll get death coil back up quickly. So one thing when you play with Grimoire of Service is that you can have a lot of diversity. You can have the Imp to remove dots on you. You can have a Succubus to seduce even. And, if you're really good, you can start setting up focus. You can see my Shift E. This is something I want to improve on. Is like actually basically focus spheres. So actually putting focus, like, and you can use battleground targets as mod I have here. See that healer, and I could actually do a focus sphere if I want to. One thing you're going to find out though when you're running the Grimoire of Service is that you're going to run out of shards a little bit more quickly, and you're going to probably have to go into Soul Conduit rather than the big orb that tries to heal you. I like the orb because I like to have more self-healing. But like in arena, if you think about it, in arena, that orb can hit everyone, so it's good against fighting against pets, like large pet groups. But there's not a lot of comps that run a lot of pets. Maybe if you run against a survival hunter, but survival hunter warrior is a really good comp, I think. So because most survival hunters will like trap your healer. And one thing you can do, another thing is say like this is a very intense single target focus spec, and while you're going to target one person, one thing you can do is use like target last target. So for instance, I could use Shift 1 to cast Agony and then target the last target. So that way, like also if the target starts to use defensive cooldowns, this target last target macro, you can help try to build up shards and still do damage to other targets while not being so like single target focused, because you can still cleave as a spec. But the whole point is you want to get the unstables on someone, you want to get that contagion going, you want to get the drained soul going, because when they get low, drop them. So I still find that Curse Fragility is really good. Warlocks are still really OP. We're probably the strongest we've been ever, I think. Back in Burning Crusade, I said we were strongest since Burning Crusade. Back in Burning Crusade, I was really, when we had the level 70 talents, you were I think level 60 still, and you had unstable affliction, so you could spec into the affliction tree like more talents than you normally would. And unstable affliction back at level 60 was like very powerful. Like someone would dispel it and they'd lose like half their life or something, and they would be silenced. but now everything's sort of been balanced out after a long time. And like I said, I didn't play the other expansions because they were too low rated. One thing about Unstable Affliction right now is that it's been buffed. It seems like it's buffed, or what's happening is not all the Unstable Afflictions are getting dispelled, and this could be a bug, but I thank God that actually some of the Unstables actually stay on, because it's kind of stupid that like you could cast 5 Unstables on someone, the healer just takes like a little damage. If you're lucky, they take like 1,000,000 damage if it crits a little bit, and then or they can like pop a defensive before they dispel. But you think about it, you have 8 seconds of casting with 5 shards, and you're not going to have 5 shards all the time, and they dispel once using a global cooldown, just laugh at your face and get your damage nerfed. And what I've noticed with the numbers, I think, is that when you start getting dispelled, it nerfs about 1/3 of your damage, so your DPS drops off by 1/3. So for those really good healers that are dispelling Affliction Warlocks, well, they're doing a really good job. Since Unstable, I think what's happening though is the reason why Unstable staying on people is you have this artifact trait called Fatal Echoes, and 6% of the time those Unstables, as they drop off, get reapplied. So that's just something to keep in mind, that there is a small percentage chance that, say if you have 4 or 5 Unstables on someone, maybe 1, if you're really lucky, 2 will stay on them, so the healer, you can still do a lot of damage to somebody. You can see here what a lot of the time I'm trying to do is put drain life. I'm just making sure I don't want my Unstable Affliction to drop off because of contagion. And so there is a small window, but the whole point is, like, this is a very unique spec. I really like that guy just dropped over. That Moonkin just destroyed him. The spec does a lot of damage, but when targets pop like defensive cooldowns, you want to switch over to another target, put Agony up, like say a monk puts a touch of Karma. You want to switch over, maybe put an Agony or in Corruption, switch back, and then drain again, so you can make sure your dots are refreshed, because the dots are really low cooldown. And so some people, I'm sure, are using Endless Affliction, but I think you give up you give up Death's Embrace. And Death's Embrace is just too good, because someone gets low, they're going to panic, and it's just so difficult to heal them because the damage is so high. Apparently there's a hotfix coming for Warlocks where they're going to nerf this Malefic Grasp down to 70% from 80% right now, which is apparently about a 14% damage nerf. In my opinion, we're already really powerful. Like I said, we're the most powerful class, maybe, I don't know. It feels like we're just super powerful right now, and I'm sure that there's other good players. I've seen like Shadow Priest play really well. So any class can play really well, but Warlocks are in a very good place right now with this spec. And yes, you'll be able to kill opponents 14% slower, probably starting tomorrow, the Tuesday when they released Nighthold with 7.2. At least they're supposed to do. And but my opinion is we'll see how it plays out. I still feel like we do just so much damage, and especially the whole thing about this spec is if they get below 30%, they're dead. Some improvements I could find myself doing more is putting these PvP curses on more. Like even this guy right here, I think it's a Curse of Fragility, and I get lazy because I'm just like, oh, this guy has like 5 Unstables on him, like I'm just going to melt them down, like I'm not going to put Curse of Fragility. Well, it's not a big deal. Like the whole point is it's a global cooldown. It's another cooldown you want to blow to put people on. And in arenas, you could try to do the other curses too, like you're fighting caster comps. You could use Curse of Tongues to try to nerf like a Shadow Priest damage or an Affliction Warlock's damage to try to nerf it a little bit, or their Paladin healing. But I find like I like to go with Fragility still, because I find that just putting pressure on their team is better than CCing, so I'd rather just damage, but it's easier said than done. Another thing there about Arena is there's a lot of people probably complain, like a lot of Warlocks know there's a lot of cleave comps, because cleave is like really the new meta in arenas, like especially 3s. Fighting, like, but here's some tips I find that have been working, and when I look back at some of the videos, like fighting DHs, I'm waiting till their metamorphosis runs out, and then they're really squishy. So basically you want to CC them, like when I'm playing with Night Silver, he's actually like when some of these Demon Hunters just like leap in with their metamorphosis. You see I'm almost about to die here at the very end. I'm just trying to drain on this paladin. I got shadow locked, I would have died, but I actually lived there. And here I'm looking at the score. I got top killing blows with 15 killing blows, top damage. I'm top healing for our side at least, and I have top damage, top healing. But if, like, again, I have about 50 plus 30 there. I'm going to show you another game here. This is another Deepwind Gorge game where I'm playing the pirate again. I have 0 deaths in this game. And continue to talk about the cleave comps in Arena. What I find to do is, like, say warriors are really bursty too. They can pop like Avatar, Commanding Shot, because I played one, and they're like very cleave oriented. Well, you can kind of try to see. I want to play with the Shadow Priest really. I want to play with a guy, another high threat target, so I'm not just going to get zerged down. Like, I don't really want to play with like a Death Knight in Arena like 3s, because I want to have another high threat target, so I'm not just getting like dunked the whole game really. It's just not a lot. It's just not a lot of fun. But also, since I'm such a high threat target, I want to get another really high damage person, like probably another caster that just pairs well with Shadow Priest, really pair well. But I've also been playing with my buddy who Night Silver plays a Moonkin. So Arena's kind of limited to also the friends you know too. That's the reality, because a lot of people, this is something I'll talk maybe a little bit later in this video about, is that you just end up getting it's just hard to get people together for Arena, like consistent competitive Arena, if you want to do it consistently. You have to know people that want to do it, and to be quite frank, the PvP in this game compared to other games is sort of mid-tier in my opinion. But let me get back to what I'm going to tell you here. You have to also know when to pop on enemy resolve against some of these cleave comps. Like, you have to be able to anticipate when you're going to get low and when's the optimal time to actually try to pop enemy resolve. Maybe when some of their stuns are out, like the demon hunter's like blowing his stuns. Like, well, you can try to pop on enemy resolve sometimes, like in that CC I believe, where you anticipate that stun is coming, so you're actually popping it, and so you're reducing a lot of the damage, like a lot of their burst damage, and also you can optimize casting Unstable Affliction without getting counterspelled. So it's a trick, it's a balancing act. But the whole point is that when you're playing with a Shadow Priest, there's more of a sustain. There's that rogue, just try to get him off our Moonkin there, and I fear him because he immediately trinketed the Death Coil. I notice a lot of people trinket Death Coil for some reason too. It's a pretty cool game. I'm having a lot of success. Here's one thing I've noticed. Fearing helps, but it seems to nerf this spec a lot. And like in Arena, you're going to fall behind when you're fearing. Fearing is all good, but the whole point is, like, this is all about momentum. It's all about momentum in a race. Like, if you fear someone, you push them behind in a race, but fear just seems to be really buggy right now. It might be a little bugged because I've seen fears only last for 2 seconds, and I know that's like, I'm talking about the second DR of fear, like, you know, after the first fear. So they trinket the first fear, and the second fear only lasts for like a couple seconds. Now it takes me 1.5 seconds to cast. There's like kind of some lag in the game as well. So they basically break the fear instantly, and their healers are constantly dispelling. That's why I like playing with Night Silver as playing with Resto Shaman, because Cyclone is a lot better. They share the same DR as fear, but it's much more superior to fear because it's very difficult to break. What else? Like I said, I just find that fearing is nerfing. I want to fear nerfs your damage, so it's like, okay, I could fear you, or I could put an Unstable Affliction on you at the same time. So yeah, it's more effective to have Death Coil, where I'm just gonna instantly, I can cast a global. It's difficult. It's a balancing act, and fear is just easily broken. While it's decent, and I was trying to play with the Succubus for a little bit, but with the Shadow Priest they have dots too, so Succubus don't really work. And it's all about too, I'm trying to get better with the focusing of silencing them and so forth, of using focus, counterspelling the healers. So I'm having a lot of success playing this Shadow Priest, Druid, kind of a God comp. They call it the God comp. And the Shadow Priest, Affliction Warlock, a healer of some kind. So like usually I like it with the Druid or Shaman, because Shaman can drop Sky Fury Totem and increases all your damage by 30%, which is a lot. But it also depends on the quality of the players and how good they are used to good at playing Arena. I'm actually doing really well here. This is an awesome match. I got a healer helping me out. This is a really close part of this match where I'm almost about to die, but I have this healer topping me off a little bit. I get really low down to 500 HP. I got this guy just riding me, and I'm kind of going Rambo here at their mine where their whole base is only have one node. This game wasn't that close, but it was just a fun game. There's some one cool thing with playing with the Shadow Priest is the Shadow Priests they get rooted. I'm sorry, playing with the Shadow Priests, because when they drop below 30%, they end up a lot of your buffs synergize together apparently. Like Shadow Priests, all their damage and stuff, their healing increases by like double, their damage increases by double. So when people start to get low, and then you also have Death's Embrace, it's a lot of fun to play. Okay, when the Shadow Priests get low, when you're fighting a low opponent, just so many things synergize together, and they just get drop kicked really. So that's another reason why you want to play with the Shadow Priest in 3s really. They have a Mind Flay which works really well, which is OP, because it can like really root people, because pillaring is a big thing in Arena. So you have to basically eliminate their pillaring a lot of the time, and that's one weakness that cleave comps have, is they can't really pillar you. So okay, after your burst is done, like that, you're done really. Like that's it. Like as long as you survive the burst, really, this guy's getting dispelled and trying to hide behind a tree. We have the Doom Guard to help out with the Grimoire of Supremacy to help do roots, but I think it gets pillared a lot, and you give up the stun of the Infernal, and you give up all the high skill stuff out of the Grimoire. What is it? The Grimoire Service. It feels like playing with the Shadow Priest is a lot more sustained damage comp. As the fight drags on past 2 minutes, you're going to win a lot. That's the other thing too, so it's all about surviving really. The Paladin can also work really well with this comp, I think too, because of Blessing Protection against these melee comps. So like, imagine you're a Warlock, the Paladin pops Blessing Protection or a Bop on you, and guess what? Like, well, now you can kind of cast a lot. I'm not running into a lot of enhancement shamans now. I think they're just nerfing too hard. And so like, there's not a lot of purging now. There's resto shamans that the really good resto shamans will silence and purge you. But that's happening. The pressure isn't too high because they should be sitting over there doing it. There's some really cool stuff for, and if you play with a resto shaman over, say, a druid, well, you're going to get healed. We're like dominating this match. Rezzing in arenas, there's some really cool clips we got, and we were also fighting a holy priest that rezzed against us and beat us. Holy priests are pretty cool. They buffed them, I guess. And if you kill a holy priest, like this guy, for instance, I think is a holy priest, sometimes they have an ability where they can res themselves with 40% HP, so that's just something to keep in mind. But Colossus, our shaman, he actually would drop Ancestral Totem and heal himself, which is really cool. And we won this game again. I didn't get top killing blows. I didn't get top damage because the Moonkin beat me, and I did not get top healing because we just dominated this game, so the game didn't go on long enough. Here's a last game of an RBG I played, and I've kind of maybe edited this around so it kind of ends near the end of the game. And I want to show you that the top damaging guy in this game, we were playing against a meta group here. They had 2 boomies, and their healers were 3 Mistwalkers. And I was trying to prove to Night Silver that like people don't dispel that much in Battlegrounds compared to Arena, where your damage can get just severely nerfed. And this game was actually pretty close. This was just a pug RBG, and I want to just kind of continue talking about some of the topics I was just talking with you about rezzing. So there's some rezzing that can happen in Arena, which is just really cool. But against better teams, because some of these players in Arena are really pretty good. It's pretty impressive to see, even like in the 1600s, they'll kill totems. They'll like just turn over and kill a totem real quick. They're very good. Like players of this game has been out for so long now. Just players are, I think, just pretty good at this game. So let's talk about the reality of while we're doing this RBG. That's kind of a meta version where we're fighting a bunch of healers and so forth. But let's talk about the meta reality of what I think PvP in this game is like. Reality is for PvP in Arena, there's a lot of cleave comps out there. Like cleave is sort of the meta. Melee is the meta in Arena. you know, as a warlock, you're getting like pummeled consistently. There's lots of instants, like every interrupt, they have like for instance, demon hunters have a ranged interrupt. Like, yes, you can reflect it, but most of the time you go with essence drain, so you don't have like a spell reflection most of the time to like counter that. So you're, as a warlock, you just get interrupted. So it's not really representative like what I think this game is, which is this game was really Battleground. Like, remember, the Arena came around during, I think, Burning Crusade, and so yes, it's been out for a while, but originally the vanilla version of this game was Battleground focused. And so while Melee, my opinion is Melee can have Arena, I'll take Battlegrounds any day. And yeah, I'm going to get dispelled in Battlegrounds, like if your healer's good, but not nearly as much. Because what happens in Battlegrounds most of the time is that people are getting trained. The healers get trained a lot harder in Battlegrounds, because people know, like, oh, if you don't train those healers, like, you know. And then sometimes in the in an arena, which is kind of cool, like, healers won't always get trained. It takes a long time, and like in RBGs and BGs, you rarely get pummeled as a warlock, and sometimes I don't even get focused in BG. It's pretty amazing. People like just don't assume, and like warlocks do pretty much the most damage because people are just chasing these healers. So the meta in RBGs is like, okay, we're gonna have 3 mistwalkers, so they can just like dash around and not do anything. So it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. And in this game, for instance, I think we're playing against a bunch of really good players that had ults, because this team was like pretty meta. We actually won the previous game with this team, and I think we like 5-capped them. So like this, it was fair that we had to fight a better team. We almost beat this group. And what I find too is that with the alts, like with Arena, I think there's now, I'll be honest, I don't think there's that many people, I could be wrong, like PvPing in general. Like there's a lot more people PvEing in this game. And so a lot of people have like alts, like they don't really, so you're not really, say you're fighting in like the 1600 bracket or 1500 bracket or low bracket, like you can be fighting a lot better players, like an alt of a really good, like a 2400 level shaman or something like that. And sometimes also like when a newer player is like an alt comes in and you're playing a lower tier, well, that drops their rating down. So now, okay, you're actually playing against 2 really good players and 1 pretty good, okay player who maybe doesn't have the high enough rating, but he has the gear to do it. And so it makes for a difficult game in your rating bracket. I find that you're running, it takes a long time to gain rating in this game. Blizzard, same thing with Hearthstone. I noticed like you get like 500 wins and you get like a gold card. And in Hearthstone, like a lot of people are winning, I think on average like 50. You're gonna win about half your games in Hearthstone, about 60 or maybe 60% of your games. Kind of like pool. Like the pool game, I'm gonna have a video on. So it gives a lot of people an opportunity. In other higher skill games, like in Tekken, when I play Tekken, you could play like a lot of matches against somebody and they would never win. Like you could play 100 matches and you could win 100 matches. Like there wasn't like a 50-50 thing. And so like a newer player never really had the opportunity. So like in Hearthstone, like you could just get a lucky draw, or like in Cleave comps being the meta. In my opinion, like I know a counter spell is coming. I can almost predict what your character is doing, and there's literally nothing I can do to counter it. So that's what kind of the problem in this game is, that there's not a lot of countering. And compared to a game like Chivalry where there was countering. And then the upcoming game that's similar to Chivalry, which I'm going to be playing coming out February 12th, is called For Honor. Check it out. I got a little link for you here. Check it out. It's really fun. And here's a funny clip that I found for Chivalry. Check it out too if you want to. What I find that you're going to run into a lot of CC chains around 1600. So even at the 1600 bracket, like you got pretty good players. So I know like some people are joking like, oh, you're like a 1600 or 1800 level shaman or whatever. Well, some of these players are pretty good, you know, unless you're playing, and it's also very dependent on your teammates. And just to put it in perspective, like the top team apparently in threes is a double demon hunter druid. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense for threes because they have double sap. The demon hunters have 2 saps, range sap. They have a cyclone can't. None of these saps can be broken. They have a ton of burst from the demon hunters because demon hunters got buffed, and they have a lot of self-healing. Now demon hunters are getting a slight nerf, but I'm just talking about the game as is right now after the first week of release. What I find in twos matches is that twos have been improved by dampening to allow for probably more double DPS teams. For instance, we lost to a Beastmaster Hunter and Subtlety Rogue, so it is possible. And I mean, I was pissed that we lost to him, but hey, you got to respect it. It's actually, if you think about it, I actually think it's really cool that like I'd rather play like see a lot more double DPS teams because of the dampening effect. Because healing has always been pretty strong in this game. You know, you pair healing up with a good DPSer, like they do a lot of good damage. Twos are still really grindy though. Some matches can last up to like 8 minutes. Hey, I like ESO where, you know, I literally dunk a kid in like 10 seconds. And, you know, the match is over, like you made a mistake. And against better players in ESO, yeah, the matches could go like longer, like 30 seconds. But no 10-minute match. It's not a 10-minute match. It's just kind of stupid, in my opinion. And one problem with this game is that most classes cannot self-heal. And like ESO and Chivalry, there was self-healing. There was a lot of abilities like you could use to heal yourself, and that's just my complaint. Like in twos, for instance, like most of the time you're getting paired up with a healer, but there's really no way to like. This is all about like damage mitigation. It's just kind of the arena is pretty grindy. It's just you could play like a lot of games, and your rating might not go up significantly. You're gonna find as you're fighting longer and longer, you're fighting harder and harder players as you're moving up the ladder, and all those complaints I previously talked about before. And it's sort of like with the elo system. It's not like where you're going to continually fight just any random players, and it's difficult to know how this elo system works. And to be honest, the gear is they need to really buff the PvP gear. It's a lot harder to do PvP. It's a lot harder to get groups for PvP, and the gear is not incentivizing enough. I don't get any gear for doing PvP. I mean, maybe if I'm really lucky, I'll get a very high level drop, and maybe some like super high arena guys like 2K plus, really 2300 level plus, they might get good, decent gear out of this. But then you get versatility gear, and then like in world PvP, like you suck. It's like, in my opinion, this is just in general, like by and large, like in world PvP, like I don't run into like hardcore gladiators out in world PvP that much that maybe have high versatility, so I can't test it. Again, I'm just telling you about my experience too. Basically, and this kind of runs into the problem with MMOs like World of Warcraft and PvP in general. The main issue of that is that you have a PvE game that has PvP elements. This is not a PvP game, but it's not a pure PvP game like designed like Chivalry was. And ESO was the same way. PvP in ESO was by far the best part of that game, and the developer, even it was admitted to me by like the developer in that game, and they never even like developed it further. Like, they didn't say like, I think they realized that it was the best part of the game and then they couldn't do anything about it. And it's just a shame, really. I mean, yes, I'd like for PvE. That's what they've tried to do this time with World of Warcraft, which I like. They've gear balanced everything, which is cool, I think. And some people were complaining about the 35 artifact trait thing being able to be used. So just to put in perspective, this guy was telling me that some people actually have the entire artifact, their entire artifact research all the way to the max, plus another 14 points out. So whenever they make the next, whenever those extra artifact counts come out, he's like, cool, I already got it. So some people are like very far ahead. Now, granted, that guy probably just does a lot of PvE, and he probably doesn't do any PvP. But what he does is he just runs dungeons all the time. And for people, he does carry groups, and he just grinds up artifact power. And here's another complaint, just a general maybe improvement that WoW could do. WoW has so many abilities. Like, for instance, with Warlocks, we have 3 dots. Do we really need 3 dots that pretty much all do the same thing? Like, Corruption even heals me now with my artifact. Like, do we really need the like 3 dots that do the same thing? Like at ESO, one thing I was a little mixed on is like, do I want to have more abilities or not? The reality is you have so many, like with Warlocks, you have so much crap you have to manage, and it's just like so many key bindings and stuff. And you can see that's where most games have gone nowadays, if they've actually lowered the key bindings. And that's why a lot of people are kind of deterred by World of Warcraft, because it is so complex. They'd rather simplify it. And a lot of games that are being made nowadays have only like 4 or 5 abilities, I've noticed. And like ESO, you have to swap weapons and you still use 5 abilities. And this has to do with porting to consoles and stuff, I believe. Just want to talk about the end of this match here. You guys can see that a Shadow Priest here, this really awesome Shadow Priest, actually had top damage at 150 million damage. I only had 105 million. He had 17 killing blows. We were getting dispelled a lot, but man, it just goes to show you can play any class really well. Hope this rant wasn't too long. Tell me guys what you think about this video, if you liked some of the content in it. Hope you guys like some of the PvP videos. There'll be arena videos coming out later this week. This channel has mostly focused around PvP, so subscribe if you like it. If you like the video, check out my other videos here. And like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you think. See you in the next chapter.